Welcome to World News on KJTV. World's first openly gay imam assassinated in South Africa. In a devastating turn of events, Mohsin Hendricks, a pioneering Islamic scholar and the world's first openly gay imam, was brutally shot and killed in South Africa on Saturday. The 58-year-old Hendricks was a trailblazer for the LGBTQ+ rights within the Muslim community, and his death has sent shockwaves around the globe. Hendricks was a courageous advocate for LGBTQ Muslims, and his work had a profound impact on many lives. He founded the Al Ghurba Foundation in Cape Town, which provided support and resources for queer Muslims. Hendricks also appeared in a 2022 documentary, The Radical, which showed his efforts to establish a mosque for LGBTQ Muslims in South Africa. As the investigation into Hendricks' death continues, his legacy as a champion of inclusivity and acceptance will live on, inspiring countless others to follow in his footsteps. More than 170 Venezuelan migrants who were detained at Guantanamo Bay have finally arrived home. The migrants were initially flown to Honduras before being transferred to Venezuela. This development comes as a part of President Donald Trump's broader crackdown on migration. However, concerns have been raised about the legality of sending migrants to Guantanamo Bay, a facility notorious for holding prisoners from the US-led war on terror. The US Department of Homeland Security has claimed that some of the Venezuelan migrants sent to Guantanamo Bay have ties to the Tren de Aragua gang, a criminal network originating from a Venezuelan prison. Nevertheless, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has welcomed the returning migrants, stating that they are not criminals, but rather people who emigrated due to US sanctions. Interestingly, while senior Trump officials have described Guantanamo Bay as a facility for the worst of the worst, recent court filings suggest that not all detainees pose a high threat. This raises questions about the criteria for sending migrants to the facility. The return of these migrants marks a significant development in the complex and often contentious issue of US-Venezuela relations. United States President Donald Trump loses patience with Ukraine. Russia's biggest backer sees a window for peace. It looks like the situation in Ukraine is getting increasingly complex, with China's top diplomat Wang Yi saying that a window for peace is opening in Ukraine. This comes as the Trump administration is ramping up its efforts to end the war in coordination with Russia. Apparently, Wang Yi met the Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meeting in South Africa, where they discussed the war and US relations. Both countries seem to agree that addressing the conflict's root causes, likely a reference to NATO, is necessary. The US, however, appears to be losing patience with Ukraine, with top Trump officials holding bilateral talks with Moscow over Kiev's head and criticizing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This has raised concerns about a shifting balance of power in the region. It's worth noting that China and Russia have blamed NATO expansion for the conflict, despite Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The situation further complicated by the fact that the US is now working closely with Russia to end the war. In terms of what might happen next, there are a few possible scenarios. One possibility is a freeze of the conflict with minor changes to the current line of contact. Another option is a continued war of attrition with fighting of variable intensity. There's also a chance of Ukrainian victory in 1 to 3 years, or a Russian victory. Unfortunately, the situation in Ukraine remains highly uncertain and it's difficult to predict exactly what will happen next. 3 buses explode in Israel in a suspected terror attack, police say. A series of explosions occurred in Bat Yam, south of Tel Aviv, Israel, in what police are calling a suspected terror attack. 3 buses were destroyed in the blast, while devices in 2 other buses failed to explode. killed. Fortunately, there have been no reports of casualties so far, according to police. The explosions prompted Transport Minister Miri Regev to pause all public transportation in the country to conduct checks for explosive devices. The investigation is ongoing, with police searching for suspects and scouring the area for more bombs. One of the unexploded devices carried a message referencing a recent Israeli military operation in the West Bank, suggesting a possible motive for the attack. In a response to the incident, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the military to carry out operations against terrorism centers in the West Bank. The police and Israel Security Agency have also been instructed to increase preventive measures against future attacks in Israel City. Passengers on crashed Toronto plane offered $30,000 each. Delta Airlines is offering $30,000 to each passenger on board a plane that crash-landed in Toronto, Canada on Monday. Fortunately, all 76 passengers and 4 crew members survived the incident, with most walking away without injuries. The plane, which had traveled from Minneapolis, skidded along the runway in flames before flipping over and coming to a halt upside down. Passengers described the scene as chaotic, with one recalling a very forceful event and the sound of the concrete and metal at the moment of impact. Delta's spokesperson emphasized that the $30,000 offer has no strings attached and does not affect customers' rights. However, a Toronto law firm representing some passengers noted that the payment is an advance meant to assist the short-term financial challenges, and Delta will likely deduct it from any future settled claim. The incident remains under investigation, with the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder recovered from the wreckage. Experts are exploring possible causes, including harsh winter weather and a rapid rate of descent. Israel claims one of 4 bodies returned from Gaza not a captive. Israel's military has made a startling claim that one of the 4 bodies returned from Gaza is not that of Shui Bibas, an Israeli captive. Instead, they've described the remains as anonymous and are also demanding that Hamas return the correct body. This development comes after Hamas handed over 4 bodies under the tenuous ceasefire that has caused over 15 months of war. The Israeli military confirmed that one body was that of Oded Lifshitz, who was 83 when he was abducted during the Hamas attack in October 2023. They also identified the remains of 2 child hostages, Ariel and Kifir Bibas, who were killed in captivity in November 2023. The situation is further complicated by the fact that 3 parked buses exploded in Bat Yam near Tel Aviv without casualties. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered an intensification of military operations in the occupied West Bank. Now, sports. Former Spanish soccer boss Luis Rubiales found guilty of kissing player Jenny Hermoso without consent. Friday, February 21st, in the English Premier League, Leicester City is playing host to Brentford. On Saturday, Everton is meeting Man United. AFC Bournemouth is playing against Wolves. Arsenal is playing West Ham. Fulham is playing Crystal Palace. Ipswich hosts Tottenham Hotspurs. Southampton is playing Brighton and Hove Albion. And the final match on Saturday, Aston Villa is hosting Chelsea. On Sunday, February 23rd, Newcastle United is playing against Nottingham Forest and Manchester City playing against Liverpool. Now, Spanish La Liga. The fixtures for Friday, Celta Vigo is playing against Osasuna. And on Saturday, Alaves hosts Espanyol, Rayo Vallecano plays Villarreal, Valencia plays Atletico, Las Palmas plays Almighty Barcelona. And then on Sunday, February 23rd, in La Liga, Atletico Bilbao plays Valladolid, Real Madrid plays Girona, and Getafe plays Real Betis, and Real Sociedad plays Leganes. Now, Italian Serie A on Friday, February 21st, Lecce plays Udinese. On Saturday, Parma hosts Bologna. Venezia hosts Lazio, Torino hosts AC Milan, Inter plays Genoa, and on Saturday, February 23rd, Como meets Napoli, Verona meets Fiorentina, Empoli plays Atalanta. Now, today in history, Malcolm X, who articulated the concept of racial pride and black nationalism in the United States, was assassinated on this day in 1965. Thank you very much for your time with us and enjoy your weekend. See you next time. My name is Ebo Hoppus of World News on KJTV.
KJTV, let's get talking.